India's GST Council has approved sweeping tax changes that will impact both households and industries. Essentials such as groceries, medicines, personal care items, and even cement and small cars will now cost less. And at the same time, the council has raised levies on sin goods like tobacco and fizzy drinks, and on luxury products such as SUVs, yachts, and private aircraft. Now, on the consumer side, several daily essentials are now tax-free or taxed at just 5%. And these include milk, paneer, parathas and roti, and dry fruits like almonds and cashews. Now, personal care products such as shampoos, soaps, hair oil, toothpaste, and shaving products also see tax rate drop to 5%. In healthcare, critical life-saving drugs are fully exempt, while most medicines, devices, and oxygen equipment will attract 5% GST. On the industrial and housing front, cement has moved to 18%, while tractors, bicycles, small cars, electric and hybrid vehicles, and ambulances now come under reduced levies. On the other hand, the council has sharply raised taxes on products considered harmful or luxury-oriented. Now, pan masala, chewing tobacco, and cigarettes will now face 40% GST. The same 40% rate will apply to carbonated soft drinks and energy beverages. Large cars and SUVs with bigger engines, high-end motorcycles, yachts, private aircraft, and even revolvers are also in the 40% bracket. Additionally, coal, lignite, and peat move up from 5 to 18%. Biodiesel, not blended with diesel, rises to 18%, and premium apparel and textile priced above 2,500 rupees per piece will now attract higher levies. All right, well, my colleague Shivan Chana just joined us to tell you a little more about this news. Over to you, Shivan.
Jyotsna, you've broken it down. Let me take it a little further from there. This is now a two-tier GST rate structure that we have, 5% and 18%, which the Finance Minister mentioned last night. And there's now a special 40% slab, which did not exist earlier. It's also proposed, and this is for a select few items. Let's get into it one by one. First, let's look at items which will now not have any GST. These are 0% GST items. Individual life insurance health policies, which were earlier at 18%. And that's a big change and development, something that people had yearned for a long time. 33 life-saving drugs and medicines, cancer medicines, medication for rare diseases, affordable education, items like maps, charts, globes, pencils, sharpeners, crayons, pastels, exercise books, notebooks, erasers, those regular school items as well. And as I mentioned, the medical items earlier, and ultra-high temperature milk, that's paneer, then pre-packaged and labeled pizza bread, rotis, all of them will now not have any GST, 0%. Next up are items which will now be at 5%. So again, a lot of your regular day use items, everyday use items, hair oil, shampoos, toothpaste, toilet soap, toothbrush, shaving creams, which were earlier at 18%, they are now all at 5%. Next are the daily need items, which were earlier at 12% and now at 5%. Butter, ghee, cheese, dairy spreads, namkeens, usual items that you'll eat in the evenings, then utensils, of course, every kitchen needs those. Feeding bottles, napkins, napkins for babies, and clinical diapers, sewing machines, and the parts that come along with it. And along with this, there are medical grade oxygen, all diagnostic kits, reagents, glucometers, and test strips. Corrective spectacles for the farmers and agriculture sector. That is essentially what the next part of this is. Tractor tires, parts which were earlier at 18%, again in the 5% bracket now. Tractors specified biopesticides, micronutrients, drip irrigation systems. Now these are all for the agri sector, and sprinklers, agriculture, horticultural or forestry machines for soil preparation, all down from 12% earlier, now at 5%. Now, the other tier of the GST is 18%. There is no more 12%. So let's talk about what goes in the 18% bracket. The automobile sector, let's start there. All these items which were earlier at 28%, they're now down to 18%. So let's look at those. Petrol and petrol, hybrid, LPG, CNG cars. And mind you, these are those cars which do not exceed 1200 cc for petrol and 1500 cc for diesel. And these cars should be lesser in length than 4000 millimeters. Then your diesel and diesel hybrid cars, as I mentioned, not exceeding 1500cc and 4000 mm. Then your three-wheeled vehicles, motorcycles, which were 350cc and below. So these include a lot of your Royal Enfield, Hunter 350, the Honda CB350, the Yazdi Roadster, Java 350, TVS Ronin, Yamaha MT15, Pulsar. A lot of these will be in this bracket of 18%. Motor vehicles for the transport of goods as well, same bracket. Electronic appliances, which were earlier at 28%, again now in the 18% bracket. Let's look at that because there is no more 28% GST. So air conditioners, televisions which are bigger than 32 inches, which include LED and LCD TVs, monitors and projectors, dishwashing machines. Every household, most of them have these. This is the bracket that they'll exist in. Now, as I mentioned earlier, there's this new 40% bracket, which again did not exist earlier. Let's talk about those. These are your sin products. So which are these sin products? Pan masala. Then you have cigarettes. Then you have gutka, chewing tobacco, BDs, aerated waters, all aerated beverages containing added sugars or flavors. Then caffeinated beverages, all your power drinks, and then non-alcoholic beverages as well. Smoking pipes. All of these are now in the 40% bracket. Motorcycles, as I mentioned, less than 350cc were in a different bracket, but if those motorcycles have engines of over 350cc or heavier engines, those will attract a 40% GST. Aircraft for personal use, yachts, revolvers and pistols, betting casinos, gambling, horse racing, lottery, online money, gaming, all of that 40% now. All petrol vehicles, as I mentioned earlier, now these are those petrol vehicles over 1200cc engines, and diesel vehicles which exceed the 1500cc engine mark, along with vehicles which are longer in length than 4000 millimeters. That's all your C segment vehicles, and vehicles which have more than 170 mm of ground clearance. So that's pretty much, the bracket in which all these vehicles go. These will have over 40% GST going forward, and these rates are going to be applicable from the 22nd of September. We are going to be breaking this down further and further as the day progresses. Stay tuned with us.